When it's a half a day, the Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation and Procurement is now called to order. Today's date is Wednesday, April 3rd. No, that's not right. April 19th. This is incorrect. Today's date is April 19th. It's 1 p.m. The notice of today's public hearing was provided to senators and stakeholders and local media on April 12th to meet the 5-day notice and April 17th to make the 48-hour notice, thus meeting the open government law requirements. I want to acknowledge my colleague who's here today in support of this confirmation hearing, Senator Tello Taitigui. Thank you for joining me here today on the eve on Good Friday. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive testimony on executive appointments of Mr. James O'Lurking to serve as a member of the Guam Solid Waste Authority Board of Directors, the executive appointment of Ms. Florida M. Sanchez to serve as a member of the Guam Environmental Protection Agency Board of Directors, executive appointment of Mr. Stephen Philip Carbolito to serve as a member of the Guam Environmental Protection Agency Board of Directors, executive appointment of Mr. Robert A. Perron to serve as a member of the Guam EPA Board of Directors, and the executive appointment of Ms. Maneka de Oro to serve as a member of the Guam EPA Board of Directors as well. So at this time, I would like to invite Mr. James O'Lurking and any of those that are willing to testify on his behalf to come forward and have a seat. Okay, so I would like to ask you if you're going to speak, if you can mention your name. So we're going to start with, I guess, on this side, my left.
It's on? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Bamba, and I'm here to testify in support of Mr. James O'Lurking's nomination to the Guam Solid Waste Authority Board. And I've had the pleasure of knowing Mr. O'Lurking for about 4 years, and we sit together on an executive team of our group companies where his input is quite valuable, and he heads up IT&E, which is one of our group companies. And I think that he's a great nominee, and it would be a great addition to the Solid Waste Board. He's run not only our local company here with probably over a significant size of over 300 employees, covering a geographic region throughout Guam and the CNMI. And he's also have experience as a senior manager or director of a multinational. And I think that's important to consider his views and his perspective on very complex issues that we face as a community. And so, I know that while he's only been here for a short time of 4 years, him and his wife have become very rooted in our community as much as placing themselves here and acquiring a house and calling Guam home. So I have no issues with his commitment to resolving and contributing to resolving our issues in solid waste. So I hope that you consider his nomination favorably, and I'm here to support him as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bamba. If I can have the next person speak prior to the nominee.
Oh, hi, good afternoon. My name is Stephen Carrara. I work at IT&E, as well as a group of companies that Mr. Bamba works for as well. I've known Jim O'Lurking for several years. He runs IT&E. I work with him daily. We address many complex issues, and Jim likes to get to the bottom of things and get things done. It's solid waste. I'm a bit of a pack rat myself, and we had a lot of material at IT&E that Jim directed that we had a lot of old electronics gear that wasn't used, and we were able to ship 3 containers off island, get it recycled in a environmentally friendly way, so it's very conscious on his mind. Our group supports public service. I've been on the EPA board for several years, and when Jim arrived on island, he was anxious to serve on a board, and I'm glad this opportunity came up, and I support his nomination, and I think the community would benefit from his involvement on the board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Carrera. So I would like to have the nominee provide testimony.
Thank you, Senator. As they've said, I'm Jim Olerking. I'm Chief Executive Officer of IT&E. And I've been here my wife and I have been here for 4 years. We bought a house down in Pago Bay and now call Guam home. And at a company level, we're highly involved in charitable and community support activities. But I've been looking for opportunities at a personal level to give back and make a contribution. And in addition to prior to my 4 years of running IT&E, I was with Motorola for 27 years, and I've got a wide operations-based background with program management and project implementation, as well as a significant solid business background. And I think the challenges and the opportunities with Guam Solid Waste and looking for an effective, efficient, and long-term sustainable solution for Guam, I think is critical, and I would look forward to the opportunity to making a contribution to that activity for the island of Guam.
Thank you, Mr. Alerkin, and thank you for accepting the governor's nomination. I just want to remind the public, the mandate of Guam Solid Waste Authority is to oversee a solid waste management system at a time when receivership is about to end, hopefully, after the court's hearing, or that's what the intent is of the judge. And in the current talks that we've been having, that's the direction that we're moving. So this is a very critical time to serve on the board. A lot of decision making is in play in regards to the future of Guam Solid Waste Authority as under the control of the government. And in order to ensure proper, cost-effective, environmentally sound disposal of solid waste, while lessening the demand for landfill sites, conserving our land resources, and ensuring that no health risk to human, plant, and animal life. So, given that, what do you see as your role in this transition period?
I think the key points of my contribution would be in the next generation cell that needs to be contracted and constructed from a board oversight perspective. I'm looking at the overall program management, implementation, and cost-effective implementation of that project, but also on the conversion and moving out of receivership to make sure that we've got an efficient, where we avoid the situation that got us into receivership originally. I know there's also the ongoing ORDOT landfill maintenance requirements, but there's, again, business evaluations and funding and staffing levels required to maintain a solid level of service as we transition out of the current status. And I think, again, with my business background and operations experience, I would be pretty well positioned to make sure we had a viable plan for making that transition without running into roadblocks.
Thank you. So you are CEO of IT&E?
Yes.
That's correct. Do you foresee any type of conflicts being a CEO and serving on the board of Guam Solid Waste Authority?
No, both on a professional and personal level. The business responsibilities at IT&E really do not conflict with any of the activities that I can see associated with Guam Solid Waste Authority. And I also have no personal involvements with any businesses associated with solid waste.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'd like to open the floor to my colleague, Senator Taitigui, for any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for stepping up to the plate. I remember when you first came to Guam, I was with the governor's office when we met, and appreciate everything you've done with contributing to, the various charities that assisted Guam. One of them, I think, was the Rogalu Foundation. Really
Yes.
appreciate that for
Yeah.
foster children. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. And, the only thing I can think of is just time. You're a CEO of a big company here, and it does require a lot of your time, and as well as probably time spent off island as well. So my concern is to ensure that you're there at all the meetings.
Right.
And so have you
Yeah, I
made that
discussed
commitment?
this with Andrew Gale also as far as the time requirements, and it is something that I looked at seriously because time is a challenge. But it's not something, in the 4 years I've been here, I wouldn't have been ready now, but I've sort of got the business operating at a level that I feel I've got the bandwidth to give back and commit some personal time to activities like this.
Okay, well, I appreciate and thank you for stepping up to the plate. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. So yes, thank you very much again. I feel that you have a lot of expertise that can complement the others on the board that are currently serving. We have somebody who's expert in management of human resources. We have Peggy Denny, we hope to confirm in this session, and Andrew Gale, who's been there at the helm during the time of the receivership. So he brings a lot with him, a lot of institutional knowledge. So we look forward to seeing you there as well. So thank you so much. For those that would like to send in testimony, we are basically opening it up to April 24th. And if you can address it to myself, Senator Sabina Flores-Perez, Chairperson on the Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, and Procurement, or it can be dropped off here at the legislature. Yes, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, at this time, I would like to invite all the nominees for the Guam EPA Board to come up together, and as well as anybody who wants to provide testimony on their behalf. So I would like to start with the nominees. Maybe we could start from my left, your right, starting with Mr. Carbolito, if you can provide testimony.
Madam Chairperson, Senator Sabina Perez, Senator Telo Taitagui, Hofade, I am Stephen Carbolito, and I humbly sit before you today as a nominee to our island's Environmental Protection Agency's Board of Directors. A little about myself. I was born and raised in the village of Pidi. After high school, I moved to California to pursue a degree in engineering, and upon graduation, I returned home and started my career as an environmental engineer. A staff engineer at GHD Guam, formerly Winsler and Kelly, I have worked on a variety of projects to improve environmental quality and efficiencies throughout our island. I was a member of the construction management team that facilitated the closure of the ORDOT dump and the associated environmental cleanup of the surrounding area. I worked closely with the contractor, engineer of record, government agencies, and various stakeholders to ensure compliance with the U.S. District Court of Guam's consent decree and federal and local environmental laws and regulations. This was a high-profile project with significant government, public, and media scrutiny, which our team completed to the client's satisfaction on schedule, within budget, and with no lost time accidents. I interacted and coordinated with the key stakeholders on the project, including the U.S. Attorney's Office, the District Court of Guam, the Federal Receiver, the ORDOT Chalampago Mayor's Office, GWA, GPA, DPW, and US EPA. Over the course of the project, I developed a professional relationship with these agencies and key stakeholders and believe that I earned their trust and respect as a result of my work performance. Upon completion of the ORDOT dump closure, my next project was to serve as the assistant project manager overseeing the construction of the Agate Santa Rita wastewater treatment plant. This project was also under court order for wastewater quality compliance, and during the final year, I handled greater responsibilities and managed the project with minimal oversight. My education as an environmental engineering major from the University of California, San Diego, exposed me to the related technical theory, its applicability, and real-world solutions for environmental issues related to renewable energy, water, transportation, and air quality. My studies included fluid mechanics, heat transfer, thermodynamics, probability and statistical methods, and programming for engineering analysis, among other courses. My education and project experience have provided me with a solid foundation and have prepared me for a career in civil and environmental engineering with a focus in wastewater and solid waste. In addition to my professional work, I am actively involved in the Society of American Military Engineers and the Village of Petey, supporting events hosted by our mayor's office and local church. Through my volunteer efforts, I am constantly reminded of our indispensable natural resources and the importance of preserving and protecting our environment for future generations to come. Madam Chairwoman and members of the legislature, I thank you for the opportunity to testify before you. I believe that my professional experience and education will be an asset to the Guam EPA Board as it sets and administers policies to protect our island's valuable natural resources and improve environmental quality for our residents. A son of Guam, I have a deep appreciation for our land, our water, and our air. I understand well the challenges contractors and designers face in their differing roles on environmental projects. I aspire to hold my ethics to the highest standards, and if confirmed, I commit that I will be an impartial voice and bring a fresh perspective to the Guam EPA Board. I look forward to the opportunity to contribute to our island and effect positive change as a member of the Guam EPA Board. Thank you, and I humbly ask for your support. Sizos Maasi.
Sizos Maasi, Mr. Carbolito, thank you. Maybe we can have the next nominee. We'll have other supporters speak on your behalf and afterwards. Thank you. So the next one we have is Florida Sanchez. Ms. Florida Sanchez.
Yes. Hafaday, Senator Perez, and Senator Taitigui, thank you kindly for your service and time to support Guam EPA's need for board members. My name is Florida Sanchez, also known as Flory, and I'm grateful for Governor Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Tenorio's nomination to the Guam EPA Board. My background includes being a Guam EPA board member through the term ending late November last year. I'm employed as the business manager at Sago Manyago Birthing Center and Mariana's Physicians Group Clinic. As a board member, I've advocated for our island home, our community islanders, and for the skilled, responsible staff of Guam's EPA with their integral support from the US EPA. I appreciate this opportunity, and I thank you, and may I wish all here a blessed Easter weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sanchez, and thank you for your testimony. We'd like to next move on to Mr. Perron.
Okay, good morning, Madam Chairperson and Senator Taitigui. My name is Bob Perrin, and I'm here having been nominated to serve a sixth term to the Guam EPA Board. First, a little bit about my background. I've lived on Guam since 1979, and I've grown to love and appreciate the island, its people, and the environment. I originally came to Guam having accepted a job to work as a field engineer at the DoD satellite tracking station at Northwest Field. I've been married to the former Donna Regis from the Regis family of Agana Heights for the past 30-plus years. She's here, along with my son Kyle and my brother-in-law Eddie, that are my family on Guam. And anyway, I'm proud to have been a member of the Guam EPA Board of Directors for the past 16 years. In that time, a number of important initiatives have been implemented which have served to protect the environment and the people of Guam. The agency has implemented a series of rules and regulations for pesticides entering our island and a certification requirement for individuals using these products. Rules and regulations for underground storage tanks have been promulgated, which has allowed our agency to take a bigger role in tracking and inspecting these tanks. Fee schedules have been approved, which allow these departments to generate funds to assist in running their programs. Guam EPA was also instrumental in switching the island over to ultra-low sulfur diesel, along with Senator Taitagui, which has contributed to cleaner air and less diesel emissions. I was fortunate enough to have chaired the subcommittee that worked on this in conjunction with GPA, the military, and other stakeholders. In order to promote transparency and to give citizens a place to go for information, we're putting as much information as possible into our website in adherence to the recently passed public law. We were actually doing it before the public law came into play, so we were proactive in that area. We're also putting information on that site regarding the Agent Orange investigation, which is currently in process, as well as listing notices of violation and the status of actions taken. In recent years, the agency has increased the amount of training for its employees, including developing a relationship with the Solid Waste Association of North America, also known as SWANA. It's the premier training and certification group for solid waste and recycling in the country. In fact, we've opened a chapter of SWANA on Guam, which includes Hawaii and everything west of California. This is in no small part due to the efforts of individuals in Guam EPA. The agency has also developed a close working relationship with the California Recycling Association and ESTWAMO, which has benefited our island and the employees of our agency. The agency has also done significant work on the bottle bill and in developing, or the now law, and in developing and implementing rules and regs for the revolving recycling fund. While this has been a slow process, we're confident that these programs will be fully operating in the near future. On a professional level, I'm currently the president of Guahan Waste Control and Guahan Waste Recycling. Our companies haul commercial solid waste, operate the island's commercial transfer station, receives, sorts, and markets recyclables, and shreds and ships the majority of the waste tires generated on Guam. I have provided testimony to the legislature and various senators in the past in my role as a solid waste professional and in the areas of solid waste management and recycling. I've kept current on issues of solid waste, recycling, and the environment through membership in SWANA, attending multiple conferences annually, and keeping my training and certifications up to date, having been certified in all 10 subject areas that SWANA offers. With that, I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to testify and for its consideration of my nomination.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Perron. Thank you. I've met with you many times, and I see the passion that you have for recycling. And yes, I think that's a great direction that Guam needs to take. So thank you. We're going to move to the next nominee, Ms. De Oro.
Hafere, Guahusi, Munyaka De Oro, Dispensazut, Atrasauzu, Pagu. Na Anusti Munyaka De Oro, Taltau, Sanahanya, Zanaganya Heights, Samasagu Pagu, Gisengsung Talafofo, Guahabula Nasaduk, Gitalafofo, Iugam, Italafofo, Zen Ochu, Mandankulus, and Mandikiki, Isaduk, zan makutga ihanum I linatlan mami. I dos na nanambia, man dunklu niha gi sengsung haganya zaniman hatsa I familia niha gi exu I sengsung sinahanya zen I sengsung tutuhun. Dos na sengsung mampus importanti kurasonhu. Malagzu by na I honras and agradesti para I magahagas and I segundun magalahi si antiluz and si muhu si jas puresi na recommendation put guahu put I Guam Environmental Protection Agency Board of Directors. Deputy Tahasu Tamanhasu zan manotsu para I manaulik zan I hinemlu nu I hanum I tasi I ligat I tanu zan I katuran mami zan lokwi I flores siha I paluma siha I trunkun siha I guihan siha I toru I gagat siha gwini gi guahan gi isan guahan zan kantoru I ligat sa I planet Earth unuat na sagan mami Deputy Tahasu toru put lanatla eno. Mampas maka ezigi na tosu gi Guam EPA and hafatai manu and attendi motna I abunchan mami put toru I maimala I arenshan mami. I'm very honored and grateful to be here today and grateful for the opportunity to serve our island and work to protect our natural resources for the benefit of all our future generations. I have so much to learn, and my education and my professional background are complementary to the mission of this agency. I have a bachelor's degree in archaeology and in history, and through those studies and through my professional experience, I realized that our identity, our cultural knowledge, and our traditions are all deeply entrenched in the environment of this island, and you cannot have our culture without our environment or our environment without the people of this land. I look forward to working closer with the other board members to learn from them, to learn from the employees of the Guam EPA. I don't have much knowledge about the inner workings of this agency. I was schooled yesterday and I will be reading up more as time comes to see how I could better use my skills and my passions to promote the 9 programs of this agency to better, to have it more meaningful and effective relationship with the community, and I really hope to hold those who violate our laws to the highest accountability. I promise to ask questions, to work to be transparent, and to just be diligent in protecting our environment because it's so important. It's so, so important that we pass on to the future generations clean water, clean land, and do all that we can together to meet not just the legal mandates, but the moral obligations that we all have to act for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So yes, speaking of mandates, the mandate of Guam EPA and its board is to ensure a high-quality environment to be maintained at all times, to guarantee an enjoyable life for all people at present and in the future, and that environmental degradation of the quality of land, water, and air by pollutants, including all physical, chemical, biological agents, should not be allowed. So to this end, it is the purpose of this act to provide a united, integrated, and comprehensive territory-wide program of environmental protection and to provide a framework to fulfill that task. And yes, as you mentioned, the board members are very important. It's important that they meet quorum. There are consequences when quorum is not met, and so that's why it's important that I'm glad to see that the governor has nominated a full complement of board members with diverse backgrounds, I must say, and long backgrounds too. So I just want to basically open up. Oh, sorry, we have more testimony. So. Stephen Carrera, if you want to speak to, I know you signed up in support of Stephen Carbolito, Ms. Florida Sanchez, Robert Perron.
Yes, so thank you and good afternoon. I've been on the EPA board for several years. It's been rewarding and I've appreciated the opportunity to contribute to the community. I really have great respect for the way EPA is run under the leadership of Walt and Bob at the board. It's a real community, and there's a lot of interaction, and you can feel it when you go to the board meetings. And I think EPA is doing a great job, and I think we will do even better things. Bob's been a great chairman. We've had frank discussions at the meeting, and we had a lot of participation. Florrie's been on the board for several years, and always appreciated working with Flora on it. Again, everybody participates, and I believe we have a great mission. And Steve and I, well, we've been friends for a while. I know his employer, and he speaks very highly of Steve, and we all know his family, and good, solid people, and we welcome his expertise on the board. I know he's worked on the landfill closures at Puerto Rico and ORDOT, so we look forward to his participation. And Monica, I just met her yesterday, but she jumped right into the board meeting, so I didn't sign up to speak to her because I don't really know her, but I can tell she's going to be a great contributor as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Carrera. Administrator Walter Leon Guerrero.
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Walter S. Leon Guerrero. I'm the Administrator at Guam EPA. I'm here to speak on behalf of the 4 board nominees that the Madam Governor has selected and appointed to be before you. First, I'd like to talk about, as you mentioned, Senator Perez, that our board, Guam EPA board, is very important to the procedures that Guam EPA does. In short, if NOV is issued and there's a contesting to that NOV, and if we don't have quorum in the board, it does not matter. Basically, the potential violator the NOV is wiped clean. And currently with Bob and Florrie's term being up, we do not have quorum. So it is a vast necessity that, and if it's that we man our board to the fullest possible. So I'm glad we have 4 nominees. I've been in this position for about 2 years and 8-9 months, and I've worked with Florrie and Bob during the 16 years that they've been on the board, so I know a lot of the things that they've done and the work and effort and time that they put in to ensure that Guam EPA maintains its efficiency and to manage and oversee the environment of Guam and the people of Guam. I know Mr. Carbolito and the work that he's done on some of the consent decree and the stipulated orders, so that speaks well of itself. I myself do not know Monica as well, but in yesterday's board, as was stated, there's an issue that she thought was not appropriate, and she made sure everybody knew what the feelings were, and that can only add some a greater respect to making sure that we cover everybody's views and passions for the environment and for the island of Guam. So again, I support all 4. I look forward to them all being part of the board because again, the wide variety of expertise that they bring to the table will definitely help Guam EPA maintain the status of being an elite agency in the government of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leon Guerrero. Mr. Regis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Senator Chalai, Senator Taitui. First, I'd like to disclose that I'm Bob's brother-in-law, but really he's my brother. Although I didn't have any say in him marrying my sister, I can say today that in all honesty, he's a person of integrity and honesty. And I think for the board, when you look at the tenure that he's served on the board for 16 years, I think the fact that he's been a mainstay, I think is very important for the EPA board to progress the issues and to properly advise the governor and the lieutenant and the legislature with respect to some of the issues that are challenging our environment. I can easily say that he is professional in every way, and he'll tell it like it is, whether you like it or not. But he's going to express his opinion, and I think whatever position he serves on the board, I think he'll do the board justice and the people of Guam justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm not familiar with you. If you can.
My name is Ann Roth. Good afternoon, Senators. I'm a member on the Board of Directors of EPA, have been for over 6 years. I was here to testify in support of Bob and Flory. They've been on for many more years before me. Bob is consistently at meetings, and so he's not the reason we may lack a quorum. It has been great working with them. They're both knowledgeable people, and I do want to say I do support them continuing on. I don't personally know Stephen or Maneka, but it's great to get the youth in it on the board, and I'm sure they have their own ideas, and we can work with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Roth. Ms. Taitano, would you like to testify?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the 35th Guam Legislature. My name is Conchita Taitano, and I signed leave for today for a couple of reasons. One's because I'm going to go to Mass afterwards, but the other reason is to offer my support for the board, for the nominees today. I come to you not as a member of the Guam Environmental Protection Agency. I come before you as the president of the Sawana Pacific Basin chapter. Bob Perron is the treasurer and secretary for this organization. And I offer my support because Bob really does care about building capacity with respect to waste management on island. And as an example of that is the upcoming Pacific Islands Environment Conference that's scheduled for June. We are bringing these pre-conference workshops, these SWANA pre-conference workshops, at 1/3 of the price that they would normally charge if you attended this course, the same course in the States. And that was done not because of me. It was really because of Mr. Perrin and his close relationship with the national organization in D.C. I also like to offer my support for Flory Sanchez. Flory has been with the agency for a long time. She also provides that continuous thread for the board of directors. I do not personally know the two new nominees, but I can tell you that I know Mr. Carbolito's parents, and they're excellent people. And chances are their children, their son is just as excellent. He also brings to the board a wealth of experience. Aside from his youth, I know Moneka. I spoke to her very briefly, but let me tell you that's one thing that I think when we take care of the environment, we always talk about cleaning and enforcement, all these things that are normally associated with the organization. But what people don't realize, or they do not take into account, is culture. And I believe that's what Moneka can bring into the board, because the protection of the environment, the protection of the land is directly related to the culture of a people. And that in itself is well, it speaks for itself. In closing, the two new nominees, they're the young at heart, paired with, the young paired with the young at heart, only leads to what we know as excellent succession planning. Thank you very much.
Sizu Usmasi. I would like to also acknowledge the presence of my colleague, Senator Therese Terlahi. Thank you for being here today. So we're now at this point. Actually, would anybody else would like to provide testimony on behalf of the nominees? Okay. So at this point, I would like to open up the floor to my colleagues for questions to any of the nominees here today, starting with Senator Taitigui.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to all the nominees for stepping up to the plate. Actually, you hit it on the nose with regards to Conchita when you mentioned he's at every, or no, Ms. Roth, when you mentioned that he's at every board meeting. One of you guys said that. That's very important, when you sit on these boards, that you do attend the meetings, but most especially to have additional time out of your already busy schedule to really look into the issues and find solutions to bring to the table. So that's something I'm hoping to get your commitment. As I look at all four of you, I have that commitment you will show up on the board meetings, right? So that's number one. Number two would probably be, you know, I appreciate the fact that now we have some youth, you know, to the board. That's going to be very helpful. And Moneka, I've known you since you were graduating from high school, and your passion with everything from the culture and now to the environment. So I have immense confidence that you will speak your mind, because I've met you, and you're like me. We'll speak what's on our mind. You know, no host, you'll do it. So thank you for stepping up, and please be there at the meetings, okay? Bob, we've known each other as well for so long, and I'm so happy to hear that you've decided to continue on. I kind of got wind that you might want to retire, you know, from this, but I'm glad you're stepping up, because you have that historical knowledge at EPA and all the work that you've done. So thank you so much. And Floy, I've met you as well. I really appreciate all the work that you're doing at EPA. And Mr. Carbolito, thank you. I was hoping you would actually work for EPA instead of GHD. The amount of, you know, knowledge that you have, you would be a great asset at EPA. But if we can take you in this capacity, then we'll take that.
Thank you.
The only concern I have is just a conflict of interest, you know. So if there, Mr. Carberly, this is to you, because I know Bob has that situation before, and he addresses it in a certain way, but because your company, the company that you work for, if there is a conflict of interest, you know, information that you have at EPA that other companies don't have, how are you going to deal with that?
Yeah, it is my understanding that the company I work for, we don't have any contracts with Guam EPA. Typically, I've interacted with EPA on site inspections for construction projects. We route documents through DPW for permitting. I don't foresee there being a conflict of interest, and if there is one, I will certainly recuse myself.
Okay, I think you will. I know your parents too. They raised good kids. So thank you so much for stepping up to the plate, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Taitigui. Senator Therese Jerlahi, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you. Thank you all. Sorry I was a little late. I was trying to listen on my way here on the YouTube. But do you mind, Mr. Carrara? Yeah, what is your interaction with the board? It sounds like you have a lot of interaction. Are you a board member? Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. You didn't. All right, well, thank you then for your service. So we have two other board members here, and then the ones who are being reconfirmed. Great, thank you very much. That's good too, because I wanted to talk about the prior board's actions, and I have a few concerns with EPA. So of course I want to praise EPA, because I do think that they are doing some very good things, and I think they've got good leadership, and the board, I am very glad that you both are again joining the board, because I want that good work to continue. I was just concerned that while they were finalizing the rules and regulations on the recycling revolving fund, and EPA was doing that there was efforts in the legislature to remove those funds from the purview of EPA and really direct them elsewhere. I don't believe that those efforts have gone away. I think that they may be revived. And just because, you know, they're funds, and everybody's looking to use funds in different ways, but I guess I wanted to just hear from the board members, what do you believe those funds, do you believe that you should protect them for the use of the new rules and regulations in the recycling revolving fund, or that it's okay if they are diverted, I guess, to other places?
Can I take that, Senator?
Sure.
Yeah, those funds really need to be protected, and that's why it's so important that we get these rules and regs for the RRF completed and put into place. I know the staff is working diligently with the in-house attorney and the Attorney General's office to make a few final tweaks to it, and then working with Senator Perez's office on some potential legislation. We're actively pushing it very hard and very fast. And in fact, we've recessed our last board meeting, and we're going to call a special meeting to vote on the updated rules and regs that we had to tweak a little bit to satisfy some legal requirements. So the board is very much in favor of getting them in place as soon as we can to make sure those funds are used properly for their intended purpose, which is for the environment and to further the recycling industry on Guam. So.
Thank you. Ms. Sanchez, did you want to add anything to that?
In the beginning, the funds were not allocated or to be directed by Guam EPA. But once it was directed to them, they took great responsibility in ensuring that the intent of it is afforded. So I just, I respect that they are taking care of the funds as best they could, or as its intent is to help our environment. And but we definitely are in the process of finalizing the rules and regs, and they do want to have it as clean as possible so that it is relayed in the law what the full intention is and how to operate the funds.
Thank you. Yeah, for those who are new members, just a little bit of background is that before the rules and regulations are in place, pretty much the legislature has in different budget cycles taken the money and assigned it to mayors for their recycling purposes and other areas. And so they do have plans now in their rules and regulations of how to use these funds for, of course, recycling. And so I just think that the employees, they have done a very good job, but they need the board support, and they need the board to be very consistent about that and not to say it's okay, and not to allow any of the employees to say it's okay if we divert those even temporarily, that you have to really show very consistently to the public, to the senators, that you have your plan, you are intent on getting that in place as soon as possible. I was recommending to the chair that really should be in place before the budget cycle comes around, because it's going to be a problem if it's not.
Yes, Senator, it's got a big target on it sitting there as unobligated funds. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important that we get those obligated and put to use in the way that the law intends it to be used.
Right, and because we've all heard it, one of the biggest complaints on Guam is, littering, and we have no recycling program that, they're criticizing our efforts in this regard, but I know for a fact that EPA they've got the most competent people. So I just think you have to let them shine. You have to, guard from everything else so that their efforts will indeed be the prevalent efforts on Guam. I guess I just wanted to ask, and I love the transparency. I see that you're going to try to do you said electronic board meetings. I work with the AG on that. I'm not sure how clear that is. But keep the transparency efforts. I think your agency is a regulatory agency. It's one, even if they're not criticizing EPA, they're criticizing that nobody's doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? And so you just have to bring the public along, and that's the way. And you want their help. I'm pretty sure the employees want their help. A lot of the things that we found out about is because of people reporting, right? That they found this. You can't be everywhere. We know that. You're limited. And so that's how we all work together. So please encourage their help, be as transparent as possible, and let the efforts of your employees shine. I mean, bring them to the media, talk about it a lot. I say they're talked about too little. very often we hear from EPA when there's a problem and they're responding to, what they had done. But I keep telling Walter, brag about what you guys are doing, because the public needs to have confidence that you are doing everything possible to protect our environment. Otherwise, they're going to believe the opposite, right? So I don't know. It's a little bit of PR, which is not really your job, but push the PR, right? And just push in your board meetings and at every opportunity you get that all the efforts of EPA, and especially your transparency. I guess I wanted to just ask, do you think that any more can be done? These are for the new members, to ensure that Agent Orange or other contaminations on Guam, that they can be removed or that their effects can be fully addressed. Mr. Carbolito?
Yeah, my knowledge on specifically the Agent Orange issue is what I read about in the news. I know efforts are underway to, we're sampling them and seeing the levels of what's in the soil. I'm not entirely familiar on the subjects, but I definitely support sampling and seeing what is on our island if we do have it.
There's other places on Guam that we know that are contaminated, and I'm sure EPA is kind of the holder of a lot of this knowledge. But the people of Guam, like me, we kind of know that there is that contamination, for example, PCBs in certain areas and other elements in other areas, but we're not exactly sure. We're trusting that somebody's on top of it, but I guess I would just ask the new board members to be sure that EPA is on top of it, that we're not just totally relying on another federal agency to report when they decide to report. That you're leading in this. I think the Agent Orange would never have happened if Walter didn't push that with them, and in fact, maybe not even if the veterans didn't themselves come forward and really make a big public ordeal about it, right? And so that's why I'm asking you as new board members that you can do that. That can be your role. There's so many mandates of EPA. You can pick one and let it be you be the champion of it. I'm sure that they could use that kind of help, and that you don't let that become low on the priority list just because you're focusing on it while they're focusing on, putting out the fires, right? There's so many things. Muñeca?
Yes, I hope that everyone, and you especially in the legislature, can know and count on me to be a voice that is very critical of all the actions that have taken place on our island and the actions that will be taking place on our island. I have been an advocate for the demilitarization of our island for a very long time, specifically because of the contamination associated with militarization of our lands and of the past military action and the impacts it's had on our birds, on our bodies, on our minds, on our soil. And it is definitely something that I think that we need to step up our game in all ways that we can, to hold those in power accountable, to speak truth to that power. We have ridiculously high rates of cancer and other NCDs that are a direct result of the contamination that you speak of. We do need to step up our game in enforcement, in testing and sampling. I do think that it's an injustice for people to have the Environmental Protection Agency not have a home, not have a building that they call their own. And I think that's something, it's in the 5-year work plan, and I support the efforts to build a state-of-the-art home for the Environmental Protection Agency, where we could conduct these sorts of community outreach programs, as well as all the other program mandates that the agency holds. But yes, I will be someone that the legislature can count on to ensure that the quality of our environment and all of the different contaminants are accounted for, and those who violate any sort of laws are, even in the past, I don't know how we would be able to do that, but if we could make sure that we hold the military accountable for all that, retribution, reconciliation, or whatever the avenues are to do that, because it's evident in our bodies that we're not in a healthy place right now.
Well, my goal is that by using the knowledge that EPA has accrued over the years, that we are able to pursue various avenues of cleaning up and for example, with the Agent Orange, one of the goals is to get these veterans the health care that they need because of the exposure. And that's the case with other contaminations too. It's not just to point the finger, but it's really to get what they might be able to get if they are suffering from exposure to any contaminants. That I think is the ultimate goal. And so that's why, and I really, really believe, I worked at EPA just for 1 year, many years ago when I was right out of college. And it was probably the most eye-opening experience of my life. I loved everybody there and what they did. I just thought the water division was the coolest, because they were going into places of Guam to sample rivers and different places and along the coast that we didn't normally have access to, or we just didn't go to normally. So they were really out there, and I think developing that program in those days, and it was so exciting. So I know that they've just got years and years of expertise, knowledge, and so you board members, your role and my role, we all have different roles, but we're all supposed to help them to get all that hard work that they have been doing to just be shared with the people of Guam, because somebody's going to come up with an even better idea than any of us have right now, right? If they have the facts and if they have the knowledge that they need. And that's why I appreciate your transparency efforts, and I appreciate your willingness to serve on the board. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Terlahi. I would be remiss if I didn't include this comment. We got a call from Mayor Luis Rivera. She called to provide, she's in full support of the appointment of Bob Perez, because he has helped the whole island with his efforts, and he's a great asset and serves well on the Guam EPA board. So I forgot to mention that earlier. So yes, Guam EPA is going through some huge changes, and pretty exciting changes, I think. If you look at the 5-year plan and all the changes that are occurring with the regulations, like Senator Therese Terlahi, I'm very much focused on the water issue here on Guam, because it pretty much all our contaminants end up there eventually. And I know they're updating the Safe Drinking Water Act. And I'm looking forward to working with the administrator to strengthen the standards for us here in Guam, and also looking at how our hazardous wastes are being handled, whether we can strengthen our laws here to protect the health of our community. So the task is huge. There's so much to do here on Guam when it comes to the environment. And I'm really thankful that you have accepted the nomination to be on the board. I look forward to working and collaborating with you all. And so I would just like, before we end, the committee will continue to receive testimony until 4 p.m. Wednesday, April 24th. And please address testimony to Senator Sabina Flores-Perez, Chairperson of the Committee on Environment, Revenue, Taxation, and Procurement, or it could be dropped off here, or it could be emailed to office@senatorperez.org. Thank you so much for being here today, and have a great Easter weekend.